Then next is that hybrid inheritance. Now, what is a hybrid inheritance? Hybrid inheritance is the derivation of a class involving the more than one form of inheritance. Now, as its name suggests, it has a more than one type of inheritance. That means it has a combination of either the multi-level inheritance or multiple inheritance. Okay, it has a more than that form. That means it is a combination of multi-level or multiple inheritance. It needs to two types of inheritance should be carried. Then only it will form the hybrid inheritance. Then only it will form the hybrid inheritance. So for that, we have shown the one example which we have discussed. Okay, if a student class is there, right? So derivation of that class. Now in this case, suppose we have a student as a base class. This is a student as a base class. In from this student, we are inheriting the properties into the its derived class, that is a test class. Similarly, from that test class, we are again inheriting the properties into the result class, into the result class. Okay, so this is the one form of inheritance. This is the one form of inheritance. From the student is the parent class. From that we have the derived the test class, that is derived one class, and from that again we are deriving the another class, that is a derived two class. So here is the student class is the first one base class. Okay, after that we are going to have this test class, which is inherited properties of student class. Again we have the last is the result class. Okay, so again it is inheriting the properties of the student, that is a base class, then middle is the test class, and the result is the child class. So which form of inheritance this one? Level inheritance is this. Okay. Now one more type of inheritance it should capture. Now can you see that this sport is another type of base class? This is a base class. Okay. This is a base class and this test is a base class. Now for this result as a child class or derived class, we have the two base classes. One is the test base class and another is the sport base class. Okay, so now this becomes the example of which type of inheritance? Multiple inheritance. Okay, so in this example, we have the combination of multi-level inheritance plus multiple inheritance. Whenever there is a formation of multiple inheritance or multi-level inheritance, then that formation comes out as a hybrid inheritance. Comes out as a hybrid inheritance. So we call it as a derivation of a class involving the more than one form of inheritance, then it is called as hybrid inheritance. Okay, so in this example, we can see this is a example of hybrid inheritance, as this is a multi-level example, and test and sport, these are the two base classes to get the result class. So this is a multiple inheritance. So we got the two levels. Okay, so forming this example, we can solve this example. We can solve this example. As you know how to solve the example, you have to write the student class, that is you have already written roll number, name, right? In earlier example student class, same way you have to write the student class, get data method and the put data method for the student class. Similarly, you have the test class, in that you can test for the marks, and marks class you get data and put data for the test class. Okay, and one more class is the sport class, right? So for sport class you can write the its own variable for sports. Okay, so get score for that and put score. Okay, the two methods you can write down for the sport class. This becomes your sport class. So you have to write the get score and put score, these two methods from the class sport. Okay, already we discussed the student class, then the test classes for the its subject test score. Okay, are you getting this? Student class, it has the student related information. Test class, it has a test related information. And sport class, it has a sport related information. Now the result will have the both multi-level and multiple inheritance for that its declaration can be done as a result class. Okay, so class result you have to write down as colon public test and the public sport. And for the class test inheritance, you have to write public student, right? For the class test, you have to write class test colon public student. That means it can inherit from the which class? Student class, test class. Similarly, class result. Now this is a class result which will inherit from public test and public sport. Okay. So now next variables for the result, or you can directly write down the methods called for the result. All right. So what will be the method calls? Because you have written the first student, that student is having the which variable? Student name and roll number. Okay. So it can access that through the test class, because test is the derived class which is derived from the student class. That is a derivation. Okay. Then the class result. This is the child class which is derived from which class? Which is derived from a test class and the sport class. Okay, so publicly we are just writing that public test, comma, public sport. Now it can access the properties which are going from the sport class as well as from the test class. Okay, so let us complete this one. Note down this and let us complete the systematic way to represent this hybrid inheritance. Okay, so note down that in student what variables you have? The roll number and the name of the student. Get data and put data its method. Similarly for the test data its own variable, that is at marks. Okay, and it is accessing the student as a base class. Same way we have a class result which will access the test class and the sport class. Sport class is the separate class which have the score and its get score and put score methods. Now write down the main method. Main method will have the variables of which class? Object of which class? Test then. Finally result is there na?
Yes,
Final
sir.
is what? Yes or
Result.
no? Just again check this diagram. Just note down this diagram. Which is the last derived class?
Result.
Result. Last derived class is result. In multi-level also last derived class, whatever the last derived class, we just create the object of that. And for the multiple also the result is the last derived class, because their base classes are test and sport. So we have to create the object of the result class, right? In the main method for the accessing that, you have to write down the result class object, create that. So note down that. The thing is that there is a, just like a hybrid, there is a multipath inheritance. As we have discussed that example of parent child, right? Similarly, we can have that in multipath inheritance also there can be a parent, that is a base class, then there is a mother, then there is a father. Okay, right? Two base classes we have done, that is a father and the one is a mother, right? Suppose from parent class it is coming to the father and mother, this two, and again from that parent, mother and father, it is going to grandchild. That means how many base classes for the grandchild comes? Three base classes. Through what? It is actually going from parent. Parent is going to the first mother class, and from that parent it is going to the father class. Okay. So from that again it is going to, from mother and father, grandchild is going to access. Okay. So indirectly it is accessing the parent class. Indirectly it is accessing the parent class for the multiple inheritance. So again there is a concept of virtual base class for the multipath inheritance. Okay, so when, see, this is the example and it is showing. Already I have given this example, but now from the perspective of this A is going to derive this B, and A is going to derive C. Now for this D class, two parents are there, B and C. Two parents are there, B and C, right? So same way I have given a real-time example. There is a parent over here, grandparent you can call it, grandparent. Then from grandparent it is going one parent one, and it is a parent two. From that again, from parent one it is going to the grandchild. D is suppose a grandchild, and from this parent two again it is a grandchild going. Okay, so it is inheriting like this way. So from this A also we can connect to D, because it inherits the properties from B also in C also. So when two or more objects are derived from a common base class, we can prevent the multiple copies of the base class being present in object derived from those objects by declaring the base class as a virtual when it is being inherited. Such a base class is known as a virtual base class. If such a kind of situation arises, if such a class or the thing is arises where we have a multiple base classes and it has the same copies going to duplicate, then we can make that classes as a virtual base class, and direct copy will inherit like from A to D. Okay, so this is a virtual base class concept. Now here, putting the example student, this student is a base class for the test, as well as a student is a base class for sport. Example is for multipath inheritance. Okay, so in this case, a, a virtual base class is created. Okay, virtual base class is created for test, as well as a virtual base class is created for test. Okay, so getting again it is inherited from the result class, test and the result class. So some of the properties, if we make that as a virtual, then it will show direct access to the student class. So I have written a example here. See, class student, roll number, getting the roll number over here, get number is equal to whatever passing parameter which you have passed, you are accessing roll number is equal to A. Then void put number, void roll number is equal to roll number you are displaying out. Same way class inherits the properties from the student, but now the function I have come it as a virtual public student. So in this, I don't want here that the derived class accessing it and makes it the virtual public student. Okay, so it's making I am virtual public student. Okay, for this, similarly, you are writing this one for the test class. What is that? Get marks and put marks. So you are getting the marks and then you are displaying the marks. Similarly, for sports, you are making the public virtual student. Okay, and you are get score and your put score you are writing over here. Then you are having the next class, that is result. Okay, so this way you are going to result display out first, then marks, put number, put marks and put score in the result class. Okay, now the result and the result one is the object of this class. Then the student one dot get number, you are accessing the student directly as you have make it the virtual class. So where it is going to access through a direct base class student, to a direct base class student. Similarly, student one dot get marks, it is going for the its method. Similarly, a get score from where you are having that score class. So when there are multiple copies of get number, when you make it a virtual function, when you make that accessing as a virtual, so that particular method is directly accessed by the base class only. Okay, so it doesn't get confused. Compiler doesn't get confused from where or which base class it has to access, as it is written as the virtual base class. So only one copy exists for accessing this. only one copy is there to access this. Okay, so this will be the your virtual base class concept. Okay, this is your virtual base class concept. So already we discussed this ambiguity in multiple inheritance. If the same copy is there, the compiler get confused from where it has to access. Okay, if more than one base class is there. Similarly, we have that multipath inheritance. In that, there also it get confused. So it has to show that two or more base classes we can make it as a virtual to get the access from the actual base class. Okay, so this is sorted by the either ambiguities with the help of the scope resolution operator or by making the base classes as a virtual base class. Okay, so right now we'll stop over here.